Not every desert is empty. Some are just too quiet. In Arizona, silence is a trap. It listens, it repeats, and sometimes it answers. There are places here where your shadow disappears, where reflections refuse to mimic you, and where, for a second, you vanish and come back different. This isn't the desert from the photos. It's the desert of unanswered questions, of corners where time bends, and where what's buried isn't dead. Today you'll cross 5 of these places, and maybe when the video ends, you'll still be there, without knowing it. The voices of the Cabeza Prieta Desert, the call that imitates who you love. In southern Arizona, between the Mexican border and the absolute emptiness of the Cabeza Prieta National Wildlife Refuge, there's a stretch of desert where sound doesn't behave the way it should. There, among dry dunes, sun-blackened rocks, and the ever-blowing wind, come reports of something impossible to explain, and even harder to forget. Voices, calling, with names only you know, with tones of people who are long gone, with memories you've never told anyone about. Cabeza Prieta is one of the most inhospitable places in America. Few trails, almost no sign of life, yet those who dare to cross it always report the same thing. The desert called me, and it used my mother's voice. Unlike most deserts, the danger in Cabeza Prieta isn't absolute silence. It's the sound coming from where no one is. The earliest reports go back to military training in the 1940s. Soldiers claimed they heard commands and calls rising from the sand, only to realize they were alone. Some thought it was just auditory mirages, until they started hearing their own names. A recovered journal from that era included this note: "We are not alone. There's something in the sand that knows the sound of our childhood." Over the past decades, hikers, filmmakers, and adventurers have experienced similar things, many sharing the same patterns. Familiar voices calling your name, a feeling that someone's just behind you even without footprints. Full conversations echoing in the distance with the voices of relatives, children, ex-lovers, and an uncontrollable urge to follow the voice, even knowing it makes no sense. In some cases, the desert speaks in languages the visitor doesn't consciously know, but somehow understands, as if the message didn't come through the ears, but directly into the mind. In the past 20 years, at least 14 people have disappeared in the Cabeza Prieta region. Most were experienced hikers, fully equipped with GPS, water, and maps. None left any tracks. Their backpacks were found intact. The footprints simply stopped. In one especially disturbing case, a search party found the recorder of a missing person. The last audio was 47 seconds long. In it, a woman's voice said, "I know you're tired, but follow me. We've done this before. You trust me, right?" The voice was identical to the victim's sister, but she was hundreds of miles away, alive, completely unaware. Some believe Cabeza Prieta is an active energy point, where the human mind taps into forgotten psychic frequencies. Others say it's a natural acoustic anomaly, shaped by the rocks and winds to create auditory illusions. And then there are those who claim the land itself holds memories, like an organic recorder, replaying not just sounds but intentions, emotions, fragments of consciousness. It's like the desert knows where to touch. Among the few who briefly got lost but made it back, they all share something: behavior changes, foggy memory, confusion about who was with them. Some wake up days later with skin markings, mild burns in circular patterns, and the most frightening of all, identity inversion. A woman swore she was her daughter. A man no longer recognized his own voice. Others refused to talk about what they heard. They just said, it wasn't meant for humans to hear. Some explorers left cameras recording during their trips. In most cases, ambient sound vanished in certain areas. Then, the audio returned with a single, crystal-clear track. No wind, no footsteps, just a whisper, right into the microphone. "Why did you leave me here?" In an unpublished video, one explorer is seen walking alone through the sand. He stops, slowly turns his head, and says with tears in his eyes, "You came back." He was alone. Cabeza Prieta is not a normal desert. It doesn't haunt you with creatures or storms. It waits, it listens, and it speaks. With your voice, with the people you've lost, with the memories you never shared with anyone. The question is, if you hear your name echoing among the rocks, will you resist or will you follow, believing it's just one more memory? Some deserts speak, Others become what they hear. They create through silence and mold the sand so it can walk. The Sandman of Sycamore Canyon, the shadow that walks during the storm. Sycamore Canyon lies in northern Arizona, a narrow, silent gorge surrounded by tall rocks and barely visible trails. It looks harmless until the wind changes. There's a stretch there that locals call the Corridor of Living Dust, a narrow path where the sand doesn't just cover the ground, it moves against the wind. It rises, it spins, and sometimes it takes shape. Witnesses speak of a figure made of compacted sand with dark, unblinking eyes. No shine, but with presence. A man-shaped silhouette, yet heavier than anything human. It doesn't walk, it doesn't run. It just appears and approaches, even when the wind blows the other way. Those who've seen it all describe the same sensation. It's not fear, it's familiarity, like an old nightmare returning to collect something you forgot. The first documented report was in 1972. 2 geology students were caught in a sudden storm. One was found hours later, dehydrated, repeating the same phrase, "He came from the wrong side of the wind." The other student was never found. According to witnesses, the creature leaves no footprints, but behind it, footprints appear, as if the desert rewrote its own story while it walked. In 3 separate cases, people claimed they saw themselves inside the storm. Same clothes, same movements, but made of sand, and sometimes the movements were delayed or wrong. One man said he saw his copy wave at him, slowly, with dull eyes like dirty glass, and in that moment, he knew. It didn't want to scare him, it wanted to replace him. Some believe the Sandman is a manifestation of the desert itself, as if the land absorbs those who get lost and tries to recreate them from whatever fragments are left. Memory, shape, intention, but no soul. Video equipment placed during sandstorms shows strange distortions. Audio vanishes. Wind spirals around a central figure that doesn't move, and in one case, an incomplete image, a dark silhouette standing still in the storm. The wind passed through it but didn't touch it. The explorer swore he didn't see anything at the time, but on the footage, he was being watched. There are also reports of after effects from the encounter: depersonalization, confusion, temporary identity loss, as if something had been swapped. A man contacted his wife 2 days after disappearing in the canyon, spoke with her normally, told her where he was, but she said the voice wasn't his. It was deeper, drier, more distant. He was never found again. But his phone appeared, covered in sand, on a trail he had never taken. The Sandman is not a predator, not a curse. He is the reflection of what the desert tries to remember, or tries to return, and maybe he only appears when you're most alone and least sure of who you are. Maybe he doesn't move to get closer. Maybe he just waits until you begin to forget on your own. Some things walk, others wait to be seen, written without a tongue, made of stone and intention. And when you enter, you listen, but not with your ears. The nameless ruins of Red Rock Secret Canyon, the place where sound comes from inside your head. There's a place in Red Rock Secret Canyon where sound seems to vanish, but it's inside you that it begins to echo. No signs point the way, no official trail exists. But those who find the path, or are found by it, come across a structure too ancient to have been forgotten, and too strange to have been built by human hands. 3 low stone walls forming an irregular circle. In the center, spiral-arranged rocks. Carved symbols with no known pattern, faceless humanoid figures. Circles, lines that don't connect but seem to stare back. The ruins have no name, and perhaps they never did. But everyone who stepped inside heard something, not with their ears, with their mind. Metallic banging from no clear source. Long creaks like wood under pressure. Words that aren't spoken, but become thoughts. Visitors describe lucid dreams while still awake. Visions of skyless cities, walls that breathe, doors that open into nothingness. And voices saying, "You came back." No camera has ever captured the sound, but the bodies felt it. Dizziness, cranial vibration, the urge to leave, and at the same time, an unexplainable pull to stay. Some who spent hours there began to speak words they didn't know, to compulsively draw symbols, to wake up at night repeating numbers or crying. Photos taken from the same spot show the engravings changing, symbols that weren't there before. lines that moved, new images appearing where there had been smooth stone. Experts say it's impossible, but those who saw it have no doubts. One visitor stated, "The place isn't ancient, it's being built by our presence." Theories have emerged. Some believe the ruins are a transmitter, a type of receiver for an unknown frequency, not made for our senses, but somehow interacting with our consciousness. Others say it's a place where reality is thinner, where thought becomes sound, and sound becomes structure. 3 people have disappeared there since 2005. No trace, no struggle. They just vanished. In one case, the victim's phone rang 2 days later. When his wife answered, all she heard was heavy breathing and something scratching stone, as if someone were trying to dig or escape. Those who return from the ruins come back changed, not physically but mentally. Some say they never feel silence again, that ever since something's vibrating, constantly, inside them, as if part of that frequency stayed behind, or as if they brought something back with them. The question isn't what those ruins were. It's this: what if they're still being built, with the parts of us we leave behind when we step in? Some places show you what lies beyond. Others erase you. They put you to sleep and awaken something else in your place. The people who sleep on the road to Sedona, the sleep that shouldn't happen. Between Sedona and the National Forest, there's a dusty road. No name, no shade, no signs. Most people drive right past it without noticing. Others stop, out of curiosity, out of fatigue, or because of something they can't explain. And that's when time breaks. Travelers report stopping for just a few minutes, leaning against their car, closing their eyes for a second and waking up hours later, with the sun in a different place, their bodies sweaty and dry blood under their noses. But that's not all. They wake up with memories they don't recognize, memories of places they've never visited, vivid dreams of homes they used to live in, but that don't exist. One woman said, "I dreamed of my family, 2 kids, a dog, a wooden house. It was so real, but I don't have children." Some people report depersonalization. They look in the mirror and don't recognize themselves. They forget their name for a few minutes, or remember 2 different names. Others describe something more subtle, as if they were living the life of another version of themselves. A hiker wrote, "I'm still me, but I feel like I came back wrong." Records show circular marks on the skin of those who slept there, rings around the ankles, small bruises on the wrists. In one case, a perfectly healed spiral-shaped cut on a part of the man's body he swore he'd never touched. Cameras placed to monitor one of the spots showed people stopping, sitting down, lying on the ground, seemingly asleep. But during exact parts of the footage, the sound disappears, the wind stops, and the image freezes for a fraction of a second. When the sound returns, there's a new background noise, something deep, rhythmic, like breathing but not human. In one of the videos, during the supposed nap, a shadow appears beside the explorer, still, motionless, no defined shape, and when he wakes up, it vanishes. Theorists say the location could be a point of intersection, a subtle fold, where consciousness slips into another reality, or swaps places. Others believe it's an experiment, a brain manipulation test triggered by silent waves, something induced, like a mental pause button. But some claim that road doesn't belong to any specific world, and that each person who sleeps there opens a new door. One woman who had been missing for 2 days was found 9 kilometers away, disoriented, barefoot, saying, "I was home." But it wasn't this home. She refused to explain, and now lives in isolation. The most disturbing thing about the reports is the pattern. No one wakes up scared. They wake up strangely calm, as if they understood something they shouldn't have, or as if they'd been waiting for that moment their whole life. The road is real, the blackouts are real too, but what happens during the sleep no one can explain. Only feel and try to live with it afterward. Maybe you'll wake up exactly as you were, or maybe you're just the version that stayed behind, while the other one already left. Some roads make you sleep, others pass through you for a second or forever. The 3-stone portal, the place where you disappear for 1 second. Some places in the desert are beautiful, others are dangerous, and then there are those that, even though they're small, feel like they're the center of something much bigger. Near a remote region in Yavapai County, Arizona, There's a formation of 3 vertical stones, arranged in an almost perfect triangle. No one knows who placed them there. There are no historical records, and they don't match any geological pattern in the area. But everyone who sees them feels they're not there by accident. The legends say that anyone who walks between the 3 stones disappears, but not for long, just for 1 second. Yes, exactly 1 second. Witnesses report watching someone walk between the stones. The person vanishes but for an instant and reappears, taking the next step as if nothing happened. But the silence afterward is total, and the person is different. He walked away, but it wasn't him anymore. He was calmer, looked at us like someone who had already said goodbye. Testimony from 2015. Those who walked through the stones reported strange sensations. A pressure in the chest, as if the air had thickened, sudden dizziness even while standing still, the impression of hearing someone call their name from behind, and a sound that shouldn't exist, a deep pop inside the brain. Some describe the world ahead as looking more pale for a few seconds. Others say they woke up already on the other side. In a recording made by a group of urban exploration YouTubers, one of the members walks through the stones. In the footage, he disappears from the image for a single frame. His shadow remains for milliseconds without the body, and the audio cuts out at the exact moment of crossing. When he reappears, his facial expression has changed. Upon reviewing the material, he didn't remember walking through the stones. He thought he had stopped before reaching them. In the following days, people who crossed the portal reported vivid dreams of places they've never visited, yet remember in detail, intense déjà vu episodes, in sequence for hours, a constant feeling of being watched by a version of themselves, and in one case, a visitor found old photos with his face, dated decades before his birth. No one could explain it, not even him. It's just 1 second, but something inside that moment stretches, bends, rebuilds. Some say you cross a fold in space-time. Others believe the stones are a dimensional marker, an ancient tool for crossing between worlds, or versions of the world. You're still you, child, but now you know you're not the only one. Hiker 2020. Time as we know it is linear, but there are places where it blinks, where the world pauses just long enough for something to cross through. If you walk between the stones, will you come back? Probably. But is it you who came back? Or is it just the version that remembers being you? The Hill of Iron Doors, where the earth never cools. In the region of Bowie, Arizona, there's a hill too small to have an official name, but the old locals call it something that sounds like a warning. The Hill of Iron Doors. It isn't fenced. There are no signs, no paths, but those who climb it know from the very first steps that something's wrong. The ground is warm, not warm like the sun burning your skin in the desert, warm like something pulsing underneath, as if there's a heart buried beneath the rocks, and it never stopped beating, even at night, even in the cold. Even after rain, the soil remains warm. Experienced hikers have reported abnormal ground temperatures, over 100 degrees C, 40 degrees C. No craters, no steam. No volcanic activity, nothing, just the certainty that the heat is coming from within, and not from nature. Metallic symbols, resembling pieces of machinery, have been found embedded in the highest rocks, as if giant doors had once been sealed there, and for some reason had forgotten or erased. Some of these markings resemble hinges, others scorched plates with unrecognizable letters, and one in particular is circular, with 3 lines crossing the center, like the drawing of a closed eye. There's no sign of excavation, but something is there. Some say it's a buried military shelter, others a pre-human structure, but everyone agrees. It's not a place that welcomes you, it's a place that watches. Groups who camped at the base of the hill reported sounds during the night. Footsteps, 3 loud knocks like wood hitting iron, and the sound of something scraping beneath the ground. Nothing was seen, but the marks were there in the morning. Large barefoot prints, with toes far too long, climbing up the hill and vanishing. One explorer recorded audio during the night, accidentally. His phone stayed on in his pocket. In the recording, a low whisper can be heard between the nighttime creaks. "Don't look, it's not time yet." The same phrase appeared in a shared dream. 3 people who had never met dreamed of the same room. Iron walls, red lights on the ceiling, and a door slowly opening, revealing something that never left the darkness. When they woke up, they described identical details, and all of them said the same thing. It wasn't a dream, it was a memory of something that hasn't happened yet. Some believe that whatever is under the hill has never left, but it's been listening, it's been learning, it's been waiting. Because if the door opens before its time, it's not what's inside that comes out. There's what's out here that goes in, and whoever goes in never comes back the same. The locals don't talk about the hill anymore. They just say that sometimes at night the ground glows a little, as if it's breathing, as if it's getting ready. And if you go up there, maybe you won't see anything. But if you stop and pay attention, maybe you'll feel it. A warmth, a presence, and a thought forming in your mind that you swear you didn't think, but you did. It was just it, thinking along with you. Or maybe it was the video that stayed with you. 5 mysteries. 5 doors between worlds. But Arizona's desert holds more than just stories. It holds secrets that not even the locals dare to speak out loud. And since you made it this far, I'm going to open one of those doors. Just one more. One that was never meant to be touched. Her place where the earth never cools, and where footprints appear before anyone walks by. That was the bonus legend. But don't think it came after. It's been waiting for you. Since the beginning, the voices, the sleep, the sand, all of it stays with you, even after the video ends. But now I want to know, which of these stories stuck in your mind, and more importantly, which US state do you want to see in the next episode? Tell me in the comments. The most mentioned state will be the next to be unearthed. Write carefully. Some places wake up when they're called.